everyone, we got a doozy for you today. As you know, we've covered a number of Unearthed Pictures releases. They distribute not only their own content, but a lot of interesting films, either extreme horror films, rare films, or older films that get a nice re-release treatment. And that's what we have today with Homework. 1982, directed by James Bashirs, and this is the only film he directed, and you might know why. Now, going into this, let's just say this is 1982. This is a B sexploitation comedy, so it's got an excessive amount of nudity, not much plot, relying more on the visuals and the gimmick of the main character, who is a virgin, who yeah, prom coming up, he likes this girl, he wants to take her out, but he's worried about being inexperienced, and he's got, of course, more experienced friends who try to help him out. He's got a counselor who also has maybe a little bit of a thing for him, and then there's the mom of his interest, who the girl who he's interested in is just obsessed with swimming. She doesn't really want to go to prom. She wants to swim. She wants to make the swim team, so much so that it hurts her relationships with just about everybody. So yeah, things get awkward. There's lots of nudity. There's lots of implied teenage sex. And it's your typical 80s sex comedy. And it's going to be for select tastes. Now, as while they're all supposed to be 18-year-olds in high school, they all look 30-something or 28-something. So, you know, that classic 80s casting. And I will admit, it does have a bit of a quaintness to it, and it is an interesting thing. Its biggest claim to fame is that it actually has Joan Collins in here. This was, I believe, just before she went to Dynasty, so it got kind of a bunch of hype after she became big in the Dynasty series, which anybody who is familiar with the Dynasty series, your back's probably hurting right now, and you should probably go take your pill for your knee. I know I needed to before recording here. So so Joan Collins is in this as the mom. There's a dad for the love interest of our main character as well, but we never really see him. They only do this voiceover gimmick. There's like one shot of him from behind, and I don't even know if it's Joan Collins getting into the car with him. So I almost don't think they cast the actual dad. They just had a guy who did a voice for it. If you don't blink too hard, you're going to see Michelle Bauer is in here as well. This is one of her first, if not her first, mainstream film. She had done some adult work before this, and she started working her way into B horror and becoming the wonderful scream queen that we all know and love. Carrie Snodgrass plays the doctor in here, and Lee Perel plays Ms. Jackson, who is the French teacher who has a student who has a crush on her. Apparently, they weren't aware what type of movie they were making along with Joan Collins, so they tried to get their name removed from the movie because of it. Before it got distribution, they wanted nudity, so they actually had a body double for Joan Collins for a love scene with our main character, Tommy, played by Michael Morgan. And yeah, it's just a really odd film, but I can see why Unearthed would want to release it because of this odd history with it and the story behind it. And that's why I really love finding out a lot of these great tidbits and such about these older films in the 80s that you didn't hear about it because you didn't have the internet, you didn't have a lot of stuff of stories, stories being coming up, but they've come out now of the woodwork years later, and they just make the film, the behind the scenes stuff and the story around these movies far more interesting than the movies themselves. And that's not to say this is a bad film necessarily. It is a slow film, and it, again, relies on the fact that it's going to have a lot of nudity for you and very little substance. But if you are a fan of 80s sex comedies, you're going to want to check out Homework from 1982. Select taste, select choices, and yeah, thank you for selecting us and listening to me ramble about this movie. Please check out our Patreon if you haven't already. Like, subscribe, bells and whistles, and all that. I thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember, keep that ticket stub.